White backgrounds tend to be the most popular backgrounds for studio photographers. Whether you're shooting fashion or portraits or commercial photography, catalogues, anything like that, then white backgrounds are pretty much the standard. I'm not saying everybody should do it, I'm just saying that there's a lot of it around. Shooting on a white background is not as easy as you think it is. Because that background's white, it's quite easy for it to blow out and overexpose that white background. We're going to talk about a few different ways that you can use white backgrounds, particularly in relation to the lighting. But you'll see the different techniques and the way I do things. It's not always going to be perfectly white. I don't really like a perfectly white background, but if you want that, you can do that. But I'm going to show you a number of different ways that you can use your white background to good effect. So we're shooting Shay on a white background here. I can vary the lightness of the background, the whiteness of the background, by changing Shay's position in relation to it. So what I'm going to do is push Shay back against that white background and get my exposure set so that that background appears as bright as possible. I'm using a single light here, so that background's going to be as white as I can get it with a single light. Then I'm going to move Shay further forward, and maintaining the correct exposure on Shay means that my white background is going to get progressively darker. Okay, so I've got my exposure set for Shay on this white background. The important part of my image is Shay. Okay, my background is always less important than my main subject. But because she's back against that background, the light hitting her is pretty much the same as the light on the white background. So Shay's going to be Shay colour, the white background's going to be white background colour. So you can see the results here when I do this shot. Here we go. Yes, wonderful. Now on my histogram, as you can see here, the light end of my histogram is showing that my white still has detail in it. I haven't lost any detail in that white because it hasn't gone off the histogram. So that's the maximum white that I can get in this particular situation. As we move Shay further forward, we're going to lessen the power of the light or make my aperture smaller to maintain the same light on Shay, and that background's going to get progressively darker simply because of the distance from the light. Okay, Shay, can you take one step forward for me? Yep, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to vary my aperture here. Here we go. That's great. Another step forward, please. Yep, that's it. Good. Drop my aperture down again. Yes. You can see that even though the exposure on Shay has been maintained the same in each shot, I've reduced my aperture to do that. My background is getting darker as I go. Even though it's a white background, it looks grey. Now, I'm just using a single light here. If we want to maintain that white background as to be white, then I need to light it separately. So that's what we're going to do now. And there's a couple of things that you need to know when you have a separate light on your background. So I've got two lights set up here to light my background. The first thing I want to make sure is they're not lighting Shay. Okay, so I need to have them far enough back so the background light's not going to be lighting her. The second thing is I need to make sure that those lights are facing directly towards the background. The softboxes, as you can see here, are facing directly towards the background. They're not angled inwards. If they're angled inwards, I would have a hot spot in the centre. So I'm not going to go into the physics of it at the moment, but if you want to evenly light your background, aim your lights directly at the background, not towards the middle of the background. Now the main aim when I'm lighting the background is not to overlight it, because if I have those background lights turned up too high, I'm going to get an overlit white background and it's going to give me flare back into my lens and it's going to soften the look of my image. It's going to lessen the quality of the photograph. So I need to get that white, not grey and not over white. Ah, perfect dress for this Shay. So we're going to get you further forward. Yep. Further back. No, further back. Okay, so this is my setup for this shot. I'll just shoot a wide shot so you can see what I've got here. There we go. You've got Shay in the middle and the two white and the two soft boxes either side. Okay, so I'm going to do a shot of Shay here. Here we go. Now, if you look at the back of my camera here, my highlight alert's telling me that that white background's overlit. I'm getting those flashing black marks, which means that my background is overlit, and shade, because of that, is quite soft. And it's very milky, the look of the shot. So I need to turn those background lights down so that I get that background white and not over white. That's great, here we go. Yes, lovely. I've still got a bit of blinking happening there with that highlight alert, so I'm going to turn them down a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Yes, lovely. That's so much better. I don't have any overexposure on my background. That's working really well. Okay, here we go, Shay. Okay, yep. Okay, that's terrific. I've got my white background, or as close to white as I would like it to be. It's not overexposed, it's not over white. My exposure on Shay is looking good, so that's what I'm aiming for. It does take a little bit of fiddling around to get your white background white, but it's worth the effort. Okay, so we'll do a couple more shots, Shay, yep. Here we go, yeah. Oh, lovely, yeah. Maybe turning around this way a little bit. Yep, that's it. Good. Feet together. Yeah. Lovely. Turn that face across a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Great. You can still see there's a little bit of shadow on that background because I'm using a single light at the front. That's okay. I could fiddle around a little bit more and eliminate that shadow altogether, but I don't particularly want to. There's a certain time when the fiddling's finished, when you want to get in and do some shots. So I'm happy with this result. I think it looks great. Even though my histogram's showing me that I'm getting detail in that white background, my white end of my histogram is stopping just a little bit short of the end, which means it's almost complete white, but it's not. I know, because I'm shooting raw, that I've got a bit more to play with. So I could light that background a little bit brighter and just pull it back a little bit in processing if I wanted to. But if we're shooting JPEG, as most of us are, then we can just take note of our histogram. That's going to tell us exactly where those tones lie. As long as that white background doesn't go off the end of that histogram, you've got detail in it. Now we're going to shoot a shot that's a little bit more challenging. We've got Shay in a white dress and we've got a white background. So this is a great exercise to do with your exposure. We want to maintain detail in Shay's dress. We want to have our background as white as we can get it, and that's a great exercise to do. If we're doing someone with a darker skin tone, it's even more difficult because we've got a fairly dark skin tone, we've got a white dress, and we've got a white background. But use this as an exercise if you get the chance to maintain that perfect exposure. Or what I say is not perfect exposure. There's no such thing as perfect exposure. There's only the exposure that you want. Okay, come forward a little bit for me, Shay. Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's good. So we're going to photograph Shay with this white dress. It's not completely white, but close as. And you'll see how I can get detail in that white dress as well as a white background. The white background's actually going to be a bit brighter than Shay's dress, which is not always ideal, but for the purpose of our exercise, that's what we're aiming for. Okay, lovely. Yeah, just like that. That's good. I'll just do a test shot first to see what we've got. Okay. So that's looking good straight from the start. I haven't got any highlight alert flashing. I haven't got any histogram going off the end. My exposure is perfect. I could darken my background down by moving my lights further back, but I don't want to do that. I love it this way, and this is why we're going to shoot it. Okay, here we go, Shay. Terrific. Yeah, maybe turn your shoulders this way a little bit. Yeah, that's it. A little bit further around. Turn your face back to your shoulder here. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Maybe run your hands up through your hair a little bit. Yeah, okay, here we go, great. Turn that face, yeah. Terrific. I'm moving closer. Do a 3/4 shot. Okay. Terrific, Shay. Shay's skin tone looks great. The white dress looks great. The background is white. Now I mentioned that shadow before. That shadow is still a little bit visible on that background, even though it's pretty close to white. I can negate that shadow or get rid of it pretty much by moving my lighting right to the front. If I shoot directly underneath my big softbox, that shadow is going to fall pretty much behind Shay, and that's going to get rid of that, that shadow on the background. So we'll just do that to finish off. Lovely. Just a couple of poses for me, Shay. All right. Here we go. Yeah, that's cool. Great. Just play with the skirt. Just flip it around a little bit. Yeah. That's it. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to buy a background for your studio or for your indoor shots, a white one is probably the best one to get, white or grey, because you can control the light on that white background by putting less light on it, making it darker, or you can put more light on it to make it brighter. Just be careful you don't overlight it.